the best part is after this, I go downstairs, I'm talking, whatever. I go back up to like see my mom after the match, and she had to leave, right, because she had been there waiting and stuff. So I'm walking her out, and the pool's on the roof. So I just look at her. I'm like, all right, hold my shirt. I just ran to the pool. I cannonball in the pool. I walk my mom down. I'm soaking wet, no shirt on, just walking like a hoodlum down the stairs onto the main street in San Diego, walking my mom to her car. And my coach Nick had gone to his car to get something, and he's walking back up the street looking at me like, bro, what the fuck? How are you soaking wet? And I was like, oh, there's a pool up there, bro. Remember, it's like a rooftop pool party. And he just started dying laughing. He's like, man, he's like, you're funny. And he just kept walking. And then I walked my mom to the car, and yeah, that was a pretty fun part too.
What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcast for Rafa Esparza coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. I hope that you are ready for a good episode. We got a good kid on here. He's very good at jiu-jitsu. He's nice as they come, but just don't let him anywhere around your arm or your neck. From the details that I have seen, it does not look fun for the other person involved. But before we get to our guest, a couple quick reminders. First and foremost, if you like this channel, this page, these interviews, and I hope that you do, go ahead and check us out at patreon.com, patreon.com/grappling hour. If you go there for just $5 a month, you can see my interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra dollars, you can see extra bonus content not available anywhere else. You can catch, let's see, what do we do on there? We do tape studies with athletes where we break down their matches and watch along with them. We also do a segment called Roast Rap, where people roast my competition footage, and you might even see a training partner of this man beating me up, which not my favorite moment, but it is very funny. There's a moment where I think it looked like JP actually like leg dropped me in the face. I've never been hit with a moving thigh to face, but it was one where after it was all said and done, our social media guy sent me a clip of Hulk Hogan doing a leg drop, and then I could laugh at it. And I had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, you can see stuff like that on a Patreon for a few extra dollars more, and you can see extra bonus content not available anywhere else. And as a couple quick reminders, like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't know what you want to comment on, by the end of this video, we will give you a prompt based off of the conversation that we are having here on this show. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and on Patreon. Please rate and review. It does help us on there, and I really do appreciate those who do it. And if you want some of this swag, look at this. Look at this Grappling Hour t-shirt. You can get that. You can get a hoodie. You can get different color t-shirts of this kind. All you have to go do is go over to rafesparza.com/merch. Get yours. It's getting cold out there, people. You want a hoodie. And I hear they are very warm. I don't just hear it. I have it myself, but other people tell me that in very cold regions, they feel very secure. So just saying that. And last but not least, join our Discord if you want to continue the conversations that we have here on the show. All right, let's get into our guest. This young man impressed me because not only was he a backup for the PGF, and we got to see him for a few seconds there, he's local out here in the Southern California region. He's been doing excellent work on the local competition scene. But he's not just local. My man is worldwide. He recently competed for the U.S. grappling team in Kazakhstan, and he is a member of the championship-winning team out there. And he also put on one hell of a show for us at Subversiv, the most recent of which, and if you blinked, you might have missed his whole match. So I thought, what better way than to bring on the young man, one who's been impressing and an all-around good kid, and get to know him a little bit better. So please welcome to the show for the very first time, one John Chandler. John, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Good opportunity, and it should be fun.
Well, we're glad to have you. And I have to say this. people don't know this sort of stuff happens, but when we were doing the live show, you found your way into my production area. And I was so startled to just see you hanging out back there because normally it's secluded from the rest of the world. So, how did you end up getting to what is normally a roped off area, sir?
I don't know. I'm a curious person. I see something that looks fun, and I just do it. You know, most of the time, if you're nice and you just try your best to be nice to everybody else, like it usually goes well. And worst comes to worst, they kick you out and tell you to leave, but it was worth a shot.
I might have kicked you out if you hadn't have had such a great submission. I'm not going to lie. I was like, what is he doing back here? Because normally I need people to be able to hear my commands and be like, hey, we need this, we need this. I walked back from having to run a very quick, short out errand. I see you back there and I go, well, I did want to congratulate you. So I guess this works out. But why were you so curious about the inner workings of perhaps one of the most stress filled areas of the entire event?
I don't know. I just saw all the wires and the computers and everybody in there, and I just was like, "What's this?" I wanted to go see what it was. That's honest, you know. I don't know. I like doing that kind of stuff, being different and knowing how things work.
I'll give you the equivalent of what it felt like for me. And not to say these are exactly the same job, but there was a moment where I felt like you had asked to come see the flight cockpit and that the captain let you in while they were flying and like something was going on, like turbulence is happening. And then there's just you being like, hey, what's up? And I go, oh, he's here now. Okay. And I do remember, because I like people who are funny and who have a good sense of humor. And I like that you were almost going to threaten me. And I was like, you do understand this is where I'm the most powerful, right?
Let's go. That's how I feel about that. Let's go.
I mean, listen, kid, the worst part is I'm looking at you and I'm like, I'm not fighting you right now, kid, but I will have very, very powerful security come and escort you out. But then I was just like, yo, I loved your submission finish. I was so proud of you. I thought it was so incredible. And I had told you, you had done such a great job the day before, hanging out with us, the press conference. And the words that I told you were just put on a show. The rest will take care of itself. And I felt like not only did you put on a show, but I felt like you got that rush of adrenaline. So, what did it feel like that day, that match, when you were able to finish in such an epic fashion?
Yeah, the lead up to it, I was super excited because I started doing jujitsu to do fighting, and then once I realized you could do combat jujitsu, it just reminded me of growing up with my friends and all the guys that I consider brothers, wrestling and slapping each other. 'Cause, you want to fight and it's fun, but you're obviously not going to kick each other and punch each other. So it's like we would always wrestle and try to submit each other, but be slapping each other at the same time because, you're not getting rocked every time you're getting slapped. So it just reminded me of growing up. So that was like an awesome feeling. And I knew I knew that like I feel like I'm the best at combat jujitsu, better than just doing jujitsu or just wrestling or grappling and MMA. Something about it, I feel like really draws me to it. So that was a cool feeling. And going out there, I was a little bummed that I failed the front headlock attack because I've been coaching that a lot recently. And it's one of my favorite things, something that I pride myself on, that little gator roll. So when I missed the grip, because I got so overzealous, so excited, like you said, adrenaline was rushing. I was like, "Oh, get his neck!" And then I had my hands the wrong way, so I rolled through, and I was like trying to salvage the position. But once he pulled his head free, I was like, "All right, just frame, don't let him hit you." And then as soon as he pulled away to try to strike me, I just did that basic little like oh shit armbar and slipped my knee in. And once I had that grip on his wrist, I just knew like, oh, I got him. And then he spun through, and I had just seen this video on Instagram of this dude getting rear triangled, and the guy goes to sleep, but the guy doesn't know he's asleep, and he switches his grip like on top to like get a better like break on the arm. And so I don't know, just instinctually, I'd never really done that before. When we rolled through, I switched my grip on the arm to get like a more of like a tricep extension rather than a pulling motion. And yeah, it was cool. It was the first time in a while where I feel like I almost blacked out for a second, and when you're done, you're just like, oh shit, and I just did that. I was sick. And then I failed the backflip, which I learned a few days before, and I told everyone I was going to do a backflip. So I went out there, and then halfway through, I was like, "What am I doing?" And then luckily I caught myself.
You have no idea how much anxiety that gives me. I don't know who did a backflip as well. I want to say it's maybe Tyler Bernacki, and he was warming up, and it was before his match. And I think he did a backflip on the Subversiv mats before we went to air. And I went up to him and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he thought it was like a legitimate, like, "I'm really mad at you." And I was like, "I'm not super mad at you. It's just don't break your neck before we have you do the match."
Yeah,
So whenever I see somebody like you guys who are athletes who you assume like, oh, they are very good at this stuff, like they are capable of it, I just always think, please not on my mats and not on my time. Because we break you, we don't get other stuff. And especially if you haven't had the match yet, how do you think it's going to be when we go up to the other dude and go, no, 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 he was good. He was good. It's just a bad backflip. So we don't have a match for you, guy. And
dude, it was so tempting when you walked down to the mat. It felt like a trampoline. All the springs under there. Like when I always like to do like a little like I don't know, called a frog jump in kids class where you jump, bring your knees to your chest. You see a bunch of people do it. But when I went out there and I did, I felt like I jumped like 6 feet in the air. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so springy. Like this is sick.
I have to say this. You mentioned that you hadn't really done this before and that it was something that you saw in a video. But to me, you could have fooled me. Like, I thought that was just a technique that was in your bag.
Which one?
You're talking about the finish. So when you made the adjustment, you said that the adjustment came from the triangle armbar finish from something specific that you were watching in a video, correct?
Yeah, from this like random jujitsu highlight I saw. I wouldn't call it a highlight. I'd call it more of a murder. The ref didn't really do his job. The dude got put to sleep, and since he's out, the dude's like, "Why isn't the choke working? Okay, I'm just gonna break his arm." And he switched his hand over and snaps the dude's arm, but the guy's already asleep. So he's like, it's pretty gnarly.
No, you
But
know
yeah,
what? I
what'd you
think I
say?
know the exact video you're talking about because I
Yeah,
remembered seeing that and having a very adverse, like, oh God, blah, blah reaction to it.
yeah, and we were also working like this leg lock, like kind of passing, like clearing the leg coming up. I can't remember exactly what position, but you like back step, and if you grab the arm, it's like a little cowboy arm bar. But the way you grab the arm, your hand's already flipped. So like we had done that. We didn't really drill it, but the week leading up to the tournament, like you're drilling a sequence for a week. So then over time, the coach is like, oh yeah, there's also this option, and this option. That was one of those options that was in there. So that was probably already in my head, but from that video that week and that, like afterwards, I was like, oh dang, it was just one of those competition things where I don't know, your subconscious takes over and you just do it. When you're done, you're like, dang, like, that was sick. I want to see the highlight because I was shocked. It was like you get to the armbar and you're like, oh shit, I got an armbar. It was like fishing almost. You're just like reeling, waiting for it, and then boom, like you got it. I was like, oh shoot, and then the match was over. That was the first time it's happened to me in a while. Usually, I'm like pretty coherent of everything that's going on, and like I can remember my match and everything that happened in it. But yeah, maybe I don't know. It was cool. It's like someone else took over and it just happened. So yeah.
When do you feel you were back in your body? Because maybe that's the reason you just showed up in my booth is that you were still out of body and still being like, let's see what I can get away with.
No,
And I'm looking at you being like, who let him here?
I came back when I had this dude's arm, the angle my mom got sitting on the side, like you could see like his shoulder is on the ground and we're still on the mat. So like the fulcrum is like 2 feet higher now. So like I'm like breaking his arm over my leg, and in the video my mom got, his shoulders down here and his hands up here, like perfect 90-degree angle. And in the moment when I'm doing it, it's like crack, 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 crack. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's gonna make me snap it all the way in half. This dude's fucking crazy. So I like pushed it just a little bit more, and as soon as it broke 90, it was like one more little like, and he just screamed like ah, and I let go, and I was thinking in my head, fuck, I shouldn't let go because in the rules meeting they're like a scream isn't a tap. You have to tap or like say tap. But then I was like, nah, dude, his arm is fucked. There's no way he's gonna keep going. Like it would be like just throwing a lamb to get slaughtered because his arm was shot. Like there's no way he was gonna wrestle or play guard or anything. So I knew it was over. But at first, when I stood up, I was like, oh shoot, a scream isn't a tap. But I was like, nah, he smoked.
Yeah, that is a tough spot to be, because there are moments when I'm at the control booth and I'm watching, because I'll have different angles on the different cameras that I see on my view, and I'll see it in 4 different angles. So my face starts wincing really bad, because sometimes I'll see it and I'll go, oh, that's not so bad. I'll look at another angle and go, no, that's cooked. And then you start thinking, like, please, dude, if you can just tap out, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't want any of this stuff. And then the immediate rush of joy that you have, it's like the best jump off and on part of this, where you're like, I hope he's all right. All right, well, I'm happy for John. And then I see you try to do the backflip, and I am immediately back to being mad at you. And I'm like, okay, he's fine. We didn't have any injuries come as a result of that. You mentioned your
My knee hurt. My knee hurt a little bit after. The next day I woke up, I was like, why is my knee hurting? And then I was like, I watched the video back, and my knee just like smacked the mat. And I was like, oh, that's probably why.
That's probably wrong. I like that without actually being drunk, you had the feeling of being drunk, of being like, oh man, what happened? I got this hangover here and my knee hurts. It's like, oh, kid,
dude, guess
that's
what
happens.
The best part is after this, I'm like, I go downstairs, I'm talking, whatever. I go back up to like see my mom after the match, and she had to leave, right, because she had been there waiting and stuff. So I'm walking around, and the pool's on the roof. So I just look at her. I'm like, all right, hold my shirt. I just ran to the pool. I cannonball in the pool. I walk my mom down. I'm soaking wet, no shirt on, just walking like a hoodlum down the stairs onto the main street in San Diego, walking my mom to her car. And my coach Nick had gone to his car to get something. And he's walking back up the street looking at me like, bro, what the fuck? How are you soaking wet? And I was like, oh, there's a pool up there, bro. Remember, it's like a rooftop pool party. And he just started dying laughing. He's like, man, he's like, you're funny. And he just kept walking. And then I walked my mom to the car. And yeah, that was a pretty fun part, too.
So
you missed that part, though. That's what I'm trying to say. You should have seen that.
I 100% missed that part, because I'm like a soldier. I'm staying in my position most of the time that I can.
Perfect clip for the camera. Win the match, runs off the match, cannonball in the pool. Let's go.
Do you understand how much I feel for your mother, that I'm sure she's ready to go? She's like, my son won. No danger happened to him. I feel so good. He's going to walk me to the car. And then you say, no, 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 hold on. I see a pool. I need to cannonball in. So your poor mom has to wait for you, which means she's probably holding something of yours like this, like, he's really going to walk me.
And I screamed at the top of my lungs, cannonball! Boom!
So what was her reaction when you got out of the pool? Was it, come on, let's go? Or did she look at you like you need to kind of get like cooled off? You need a towel? Like, what did she say to you at that point?
She was like, all right, you ready? And I was like, yeah, let's go. And I just gave her one of these, the old no towel, air dry. You just scrape the water droplets off you. And I was like, all right, I'm good.
I feel, and this is just the cold read, I could be completely wrong here. I feel like Mama Chandler has probably endured crazier things from you over the years, that this may have been something that was so normal to her that she just goes, all right, you ready to go?
Exactly. Exactly.
All right.
Hit the nail on the head, man. She got a call. She probably got a call home from in 8th grade. She probably got a call home from school every day.
Why would she get a call at home every single day, John?
I don't know, dude. I just, that was crazy.
Could it be possibly all of the fights that you were getting in with your buddies? Could it be you being a bad kid or getting into some hooliganism? Like, what prompted these phone calls? Because I don't think they just happened for no reason.
Oh, I don't know. Like a mix of reputation, a mix of like having a bad mouth. I don't know. Some kids didn't like me, so they instigated too. And then you would like finish the job or whatever, and then you're the bad guy, and then you do a few wrong things. You hang out with a few wrong kids, and then stuff starts going bad. These kids keep getting in trouble, so then they're you're kind of getting dragged into it too. So they're already just watching you. After you get a certain amount of like detentions or in trouble a certain amount of time, you're like on their watch list, and then you just get in trouble double the amount. You know what I mean? Over like little things, because you've already been in so much trouble that you slip up slightly, the the consequence is so much worse because you have that reputation.
Well, no, I was always a good kid. So I was the responsible one, my friend. I will say though, the only thing that happened to me when I was growing up is I would be around some dumb kids who their parents, to try and offset the blame, would go, "Oh, Raph didn't stop them." And their parents would try to make that blame, like, "Oh, he's in charge of them." Like I was their age and they thought I was the babysitter. So like, "Oh, my
Yeah,
kid did burn down a tent, but that's Raph's fault." And my parents literally shut the door in their faces, like, "Get the hell out of here. You're not going to say that
yeah.
about my child." So I do get that. But I have to ask this. So, because I know you as a pretty upstanding kid, when I have interacted with you, polite, well mannered, when you say you've got a certain kind of mouth, is it a trash talking mouth? Is it a competitive mouth? Or was this just you responding in kind to some other bad kids that might have been trying to provoke violence or do some dumb things as kids do when they're growing up?
Little bit of both, but definitely just had no filter. I was gonna say what I wanted to say, but I'm honestly glad I got it out of my system when I was younger. I'm still young, obviously, but growing up being like that, you learn like when to watch your mouth and when it's appropriate to say certain things, because you lose a lot of friends. People, they don't want to be around you because, especially like when you're in school, kids like they care so much about what other kids think. They want to be popular. Oh, if all the friend groups think this, and you're the one who's like going against that because you're like, nah, I don't really agree with that. Kids don't want to be around you as much because they want to fit in with everybody else. They're not as okay with just being like tight with a few group of people. They want to be friends with everybody. So I think that was a big part of it as well when it comes to like the mouth and stuff, because people like voice their opinion. You're like, nah, I don't really, I'm not with that, or I'm not gonna try to act cool in front of these certain types of kids when like say this kid's not as cool. I'm like, nah, I don't care. And if like if people would say stuff to my friends and like talk shit, I was just like on it. Like I was like, oh, you want to start the war? Like we're gonna, we're just gonna keep going until you like realize you shouldn't have said some stupid shit. But get that out of your system, and I don't know. Yeah,
We're going to get to a little bit more of your origin story in a second, but I did want to ask shortly after. Well, actually, let's go beforehand because Subversive was the big one. But, obviously getting to see you perform for a little bit at PGF. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience? Because being an alternate is a very weird situation in the sense that you don't want anybody to get injured, but you do want your shot at getting in
yeah,
there. And you did get in there. And it was an interesting moment because AJ was trying to put you over. And I did see that happening. And so you did get a little bit of screen time with that in addition to your match.
yeah. AJ's the man for that. He actually gained a lot of respect that he might not know, like through people at the gym, and a lot of people have come up to me are like, oh yeah, that AJ guy, he's a real stand up guy for doing that, and he uh he didn't have to do that, and he went out his way to do that to help me out. So I'm super grateful, super appreciative, and I knew that match was going to go exactly that way because we were training the whole week leading up to ADCC West Coast Trials, because he used to wrestle and he knows some of the coaches that coach the gym, because our gym's like mainly wrestling. So he was coming in to wrestle, and we just hit it off, became friends, and we were just training every day doing rounds. And he took me under his wing a little bit. So I knew that match he was going to try to Kimura me the whole time. I even said before the match, I was like, you're just going to try and Kimura me the whole time, motherfucker. And he's like, nah, man, no Kimuras. But I was like, nah, he's gonna Kimura me the whole time. So it was funny. It's funny that it worked. It happened how it did because I knew it was gonna go that way, and it was super fun. And honestly, I was super nervous, but going against him, it almost made it feel like it was practice. So it took some of that nerves away.
And I have to ask this because the PGF weight class and you, I was trying to put together. Were you underweight for that weight class?
Yeah, I actually weighed in with my hoodie, shirt, sweatpants, shorts, and underwear on, and my socks. I probably could have kept my shoes on and still made it.
I mean, when I saw you, I thought, okay, this is probably marking your territory for a later weight class. So, if the PGF had an ideal weight class for you, what would it be, and what would you like to come back to compete at? I'm just assuming you'd like to come back.
Oh yeah, 100% coming back. You'd be foolish to let that opportunity pass up. Especially me being young. I'm trying to do this as a profession and not work a job and be like a slave to somebody and be able to do what I love and make money doing it. So yeah, I would love to do it. And 155 would be ideal. Anywhere from 155, 165. But I don't figure they would go in between. Because they already have like the 70. Then 55 would make sense. Maybe
Yeah,
even 45 because you only have to weigh in um, one time. So it's like making 45. I don't really want to make 45 anymore unless I'm getting paid because it's also like what my MMA coaches and stuff are telling me because I do want to get bigger and just to make that cut every single time and then try to gain the weight back. It's like unless you're getting paid to do it, it's just a pain in the ass. So, but to do the PGF, you're making money and you only have to weigh in once. By the time the week's over, like dudes are huge. In my match with Matt Elkins, that dude was easily like 185, 190, no doubt. By the time I had that match with him,
agree. I just saw you in there, and there was an immediate appreciation for your scrappiness. Even then, when I go, man, he's going to be giving it.
JP, dude, JP. The whole time I was thinking, I was just like, this is JP round. This is exactly what happens. He just smushes me. He's too strong. He's too big. But I'm just like, I'm just gonna be a cockroach. I'm like, he's squeezing my head in the match. And you start seeing those crazy colors and you just start to like almost get a little paranoid. And I just said in my head, I was like, fuck the colors. Fuck the colors, dude. I'm gonna get out. Fuck the colors. Low key sticking my thumb in his armpit, like, fuck this. Fuck the colors, dude. If
I mean,
I'm being completely honest, man, I think it's funny, so that's why I'm saying it.
of course. And Matt is above all people a very decent human being, and I know he has a good sense of humor for that, and I know he appreciates it. And it's a testament to JP. I mean, obviously, having gotten some unfortunate time with him myself, he's just a really good competitor, and you can see why he competes so well in MMA as well. So you
Yeah.
having him as that resource is just an incredible way of replicating the intensity that you need that you probably won't find in a number of different places or with training partners.
Yeah, and they're quick. They're quick with the shit talk. That'll keep you on your p's and q's. It's
I
all
didn't know
drugs.
that
It's all
because
drugs and love. When it comes down to it, and you really need them. They're there for you. But that's how it's supposed to be when you have a brother. Like, you know, they're gonna use some words that I'm not gonna say. Because it's 2024. People get mad, but they're gonna call you some words and make you feel a certain way, and you're just like, oh, really? All right, bet. And then it just sparks something in you, and then you learn how to scrap, you learn how to push your limit, and you go and you do that same thing to other people on the mat. So it's a pretty beautiful cycle.
well, now I have my strategy for JP. If I know he talks trash like that, I can contest.
And he's a respectable guy. It's like I said, he's one of those guys though. He'll get the young kid mouth out of me.
I just like
He'll
to
get
say
it.
this. I'm like,
He'll just be going.
I have the feeling he'll wash me in jiu-jitsu, but I'm gonna make a run. I'll be like, no, I can win trash talk. That part I can win. Backing it up, very different thing. But at the very least, I'm like, no, my jokes will be better. I'm 100% sure of that.
You can
But
stay in the fight.
I just love the fact that he gave you what you needed to be ready, as well as the other members on your team. The people that I know that train with you at your gym are very, very good. And some of the guys I've known for years and some I've watched as a appreciator or watching that team blow up. So you're not short on really, really good people. But I would love to see you back for the PGF in the future. So I definitely want you to continue staying active. Now we're going to fast forward to the fact that shortly after Subversive, you were getting ready to go to Kazakhstan. And unfortunately, we said we were going to do this in person, and I really wanted to do it in person, but I didn't want to get into your way for that training. So I was like, you know what? Let's try and do this afterwards. But tell me a little bit about that experience because one, that's a pretty big honor. And two, there's a lot of great talent that was involved in that trip as well.
Yeah, it was a huge accomplishment to make the team this year because actually the year prior, uh, I just, was being dumb. I was training hard and I believed in myself, but just like health wise, I was being stupid, drinking too many caffeine drinks, like, honestly, smoking weed. And, I don't think that's bad, but once you have it under control, I didn't have it under control at the time. And, also the night before we went to this Brazilian steakhouse and everyone there, is like, oh, you're gonna tap out, like you're already done. So you're like, no, I'll eat more. Your ego gets involved and you're just like hanging out with all the boys. So I ate a bunch of steak, woke up the next day, the whole time I'm warming up, my stomach is just killing me. I'm going in and out of the bathroom, but I'm telling myself, I'm like, oh dude, like this is just, you messed up, learn from it, and try your best to just perform. And the first match, I hit a super sick like rear triangle armbar, like a flying rear triangle armbar. You can see it on my Instagram. And then the second match, during the middle of the match, from like just the night before, stomach hurting, and I like baby barfed in the match. Tried to swallow it. All right, I know it's disgusting, and then like that just set it off. So I'm like on the dude's back, beating him like 6-2, and I'm like, ugh, ugh, like gagging, and I'm like, fudge. I'm not gonna make it. I run off the mat, and I had held it for so long, like trying to fight it, that by the time I ran off the mat, just was like, I couldn't make it to the trash can, couldn't make it to the door. Pretty much embarrassed myself, and that was like a big moment where I was like, all right, like I'm coming back next year, and like I'm winning this thing, and so like lit a fire under my butt and cut out some bad habits and things that I was doing, and so to come back and win it this year, it felt amazing. To start with that, and the overall experience going there, once in a lifetime, getting to travel and feel how it feels to travel and still stay confident even though you're going through all these problems. You're dealing with people at the airport wondering like, dang, I hope my bag gets there. You never know, like people lose their luggage and little things like that. But overall, it's one of the funnest things I ever did in Kazakhstan. I would 100% recommend people to go there because the people were super nice. Everyone treated us like friends and family, and the food was amazing. So overall, great experience.
Who were you hanging out with the most on that trip? Because I always see the group of people that's going, and I'm always intrigued what kind of cliques or what kind of groupings come together because there's a lot of different team interactions happening on that trip.
Yeah, I mainly hung out with Ezra. Ezra, I think Gotti is how you say his last name. And then Noah Chen. Those were the main dudes I was hanging out with. And I had actually ran into some kids there on the first day and became friends with them. And through meeting them, the Kazakhstan kids, I mean, I met them, and through meeting them, they just introduced me to a bunch of kids. And I was running around with those kids a lot of the time, to be honest. Like once I was done competing, because it was pretty fun learning about their culture, and you couldn't really talk to them, or like some of them would speak and then they would translate to each other, or you would just use Google Translate, and getting to trade like jerseys and or rash guards and shirts with them. That was super fun too.
That's super cool. That's really intriguing to hear because I did see a lot of jersey swaps, and I saw some of the guys stayed around there for a few extra days and kind of made the most of it. So, in terms of sightseeing, what were the things that stood out to you in terms of things that you observed as you were walking through an entirely different place?
Just the structure and the way the buildings are built, and I was expecting it honestly to be like a little more run down, but it was actually super nice. Everything was nice. Super modern buildings. They had this crazy mall. It looked like a giant like teepee that was like falling over. And the whole time I was wondering, I was like, what is that building? Like, what could that be used for? And then I went to go get breakfast one morning with Isaac Cordova after we were done competing. And he was like, oh, let's go to this mall right here and see if they have anything cool. So the Ubers out there called Yandex. It's like Yandex Go or something. It's like $2 will get you 30-minute Yandex ride anywhere. So it was super cheap. And we go to this mall, and it ended up being that building that looked like a giant teepee that was falling over. And I was like, what the fuck? This is the mall? There was just like layers around it. They had a whole like amusement park in there. They had an indoor beach up at the top because Kazakhstan is like, I think they were saying like top five like places furthest from the ocean. So, they don't have a beach. They had like an indoor beach at the top of the mall. Uh, it was cool because I hadn't seen anything like that. It was a lot more touristy than I thought it was going to be in that mall.
Well, that's fairly awesome, and I'm glad that you got that experience. So I was super
Yeah,
stoked to hear that, and I actually talked with Dovadog this weekend at AIGA Trials, and I was asking him about his journey, and he was in love with it. He told me all about the great experiences he had from it, and how he was like, "Man, I just want to go back. I want to do that again."
yeah, it was. I loved it. I was actually like, dang, I wish I had a few more days because by the end, I had made so many friends there, and kids wanted to come and show me around and all this stuff, but I just didn't have the time because our flight left Sunday. You know, unless you're willing to pay extra, but like, yeah, I just didn't have the means to do that, so I just left on the deadlines that they gave us that were sponsored by the USA Grappling organization or whoever pays for it through the team. I'm not sure who does pay for it, but shout out to them.
I mean, that's definitely a great thing to note, and perhaps in the future, it's something you can plan if you so pursue it again next year. But I get the intention that you'll probably be making the rounds on a lot of different things in 2025. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see you out there a little bit longer next year.
Yeah, that's the plan. It's a bummer how I hurt my rib. I felt like I had worked hard. I did the hard things. I sacrificed a lot. I did things that I didn't want to do, and I was going in super confident. And I believed I was going to win the whole thing. So to get injured like that is a bummer because it's not like they beat you. They beat like a different version of you that couldn't give your all. And I just felt like I was in that match trying to survive, and it was supposed to happen because it sparked something in me that was just like you never want that to happen again. And it was off like a stupid mistake, and just to have it taken from you to work so hard and like you didn't get truly beat. You almost like it's almost like I beat myself going for that flying submission when it just wasn't the time. I don't know what I was thinking. Just heat of the moment, did it, and then ended up hurting my ribs. So next year we're coming back and we're gonna win it.
Good man. I mean, well, the team as a whole ended up winning, and that's always huge bragging rights. So congratulations to you and the entire group for doing that. But I was trying to pay attention because it is a little bit of a time difference. So I tried putting like a reminder to just kind of keep posted and like look things up. And the first thing that like everybody was posting was your first match highlight. And I thought, man, good for him. So at the very least, you guys have a little bit of shine. Obviously, you'd wish that that would go on, but that's only room for improvement in the next time you go. So
Yeah.
stoked for the continued progress there. I'd like to ask this, sir. So normally, whenever we have people on the very first time, I always like to ask how jiu-jitsu found its way into their lives. So for you, where did jiu-jitsu find its way into your life? Were you playing other sports? Were you doing other things? What brought you to the gentle art?
Mm, like a lot of things, but I think I have it. I always liked fighting from like since I was young. Like I had those Hulk smash gloves, and like I just like punching stuff and like liked to fight, and was always a roughhouse kid. But I started doing jujitsu in the gi fourth grade. I did it for 1 year with my oldest sister. Whenever my mom would take us, it wasn't super consistent. I didn't compete. I got through white, but I got like gray and white. I think with like a few stripes on it, and then I had stopped. But when my mom was dating this guy who was like an MMA fighter and was in the UFC for a bit, but I can't remember his name. He was a brown belt, so being around him a bit and also had an influence in me. And yeah, so I was like fighting. And then seventh grade, I had gone into a fight and I started boxing, and that's how I found wrestling. And then I wanted to fight again, because I was like, oh yeah, wrestling's cool, but for some reason in my head I was like, oh, jujitsu's more like fighting, which because I didn't have someone like really telling me where to go and how to do it. I just wanted to fight, and I kept telling my mom and stuff. So started boxing, started wrestling, and then sophomore year I was like, oh, I want to do jujitsu. So I started doing jujitsu with two of my buddies at this gym here in Fountain Valley called Power of Leverage with Professor Kelly, and I was there for like a year. Moved away to Arizona. There's nowhere to do jujitsu. I started wrestling through to finish high school, and then in 2020, that's when I got reintroduced to jujitsu, doing the no-gi stuff over at 10th Planet Fullerton. And from the minute I did no-gi, I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm in love with this," because I had never done no-gi. I just wrestled, and I did jujitsu and the gi those 2 years growing up. So then once I did the no-gi, and I was like, "Oh, this is what grappling is. It's wrestling with submissions." I was like, "Oh, this is it. I love this."
So let me go and ask this. Why is it that you think you wanted to fight? Because obviously we saw hints of it when you said you were scrapping and roughhousing and they give you the Hulk gloves. Like a lot of kids, you kind of like mess around, but not everybody becomes a fighter. So why is it that you think in your particular story, you wanted to further pursue that?
Ah, I'm not sure. Just something inside me just loves it. I think you have to be like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, like, I'm a fighter, I'm crazy, whatever. But you have to be a little bit, you almost like getting hit. You like the thrill of it. You like how scary it feels. You like winning, the highs and the lows, all the sacrifice. And growing up, I was just fighting because I had a loud mouth and kids wanted to fight. And I was the kid who just didn't want to back down. And honestly, growing up, like, there wasn't a single time I really lost a kid that I fought in like in the park or at school, and I just realized I was always good at it. It was something I feel like came natural to me, and I always wanted to pursue it. And yeah, it took me to get to the point where I was old enough to realize no one's coming to save me. What am I going to do with my life? Like, let's just go all in on this because I feel like a lot of people's like destiny or their goal, their dream is like something that's been in their life already, their whole entire life. They're either just not realizing it or they haven't or they're just scared to pursue it. It's kind of like the book The Alchemist, if you've read that book before.
Very cool. Well, you're gonna lose half of our viewers by book references, dude. So you know what I mean? Like we don't have smart people in this sport.
Damn good books. It's a damn good book.
What I would like to say is this. It does make sense for you. You obviously kind of finding your way to group all these things together. Do you remember your first class? And if so, what stuck out to you about your first specific jiu-jitsu class?
I don't remember the actual class, but I remember when I was signing up, going to the gym, and there was like a hole in the wall, kind of by the mat, and I was like, "How the heck did a hole get in the wall?" And then they were like, "Oh, Professor blah 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 through other Professor blah blah," and his head went through the wall, and I was like, "Hell yeah!"
For most people, that's going to be like a warning sign. Maybe this isn't the gym for me. You see a hole in a wall, which, by the way, is expensive, and you think, yeah, sign me up for this.
Yeah, I was like, "That's badass." I was always one of those kids playing football too. When I was younger, I wanted to go to the NFL, and I was like, I never touched the football. I was always a defensive kid. I just wanted to run at people and hit them hard. So I don't know. Some of it's just in you naturally. I feel like some people have it, some people don't.
Yeah, that checks out. So you mentioned that it was initial and a love for this right away. We always like to ask people on the show, when was it that you fell in love with grappling to a sense that you actually wanted to do it as more than just a hobby?
The first day I went to 10th Planet Fullerton and I saw what it was. And I actually was driving home with the two guys that brought me in. His name's Edward Bilzekchin. He's like the reptile rope on Instagram. He's like super famous for breeding reptiles and stuff. I remember driving home with them, and I was like, yeah, dude, like I'm gonna go to the UFC, like I'm gonna fight, and they were like, yeah, like us too, blah blah, and they had like a little MMA going on at 10 Planet Fullerton for a little bit with can't remember his name, Coach Miko, but that only lasted for a few months, and then it stopped because the guy went to a different gym, whatever. But we were doing that for a bit too, and we're just like, yeah, like we're gonna fight, like I'm gonna do this full time, I'm gonna find a way to make this work, like I'm not gonna go home. So yeah, I just stayed here, and after like a month, I went back home because I finally got a ride to go back home. And I went back home. My room was the same way I left it when I left. It was like I died, and no one touched anything in my room. Like stuff was still all over the counter. It was like, of course, my mom had cleaned it because I wasn't there and stuff. But like all the stuff was like the way I left it. It was like, well, it's kind of weird. And then I just grabbed all my stuff and went back to California and just kept going along with it.
That's interesting because I wanted to know when you started finding your way to your group over at Orange County Regional Training Center. They're a very good group of people, as we've kind of mentioned before. But how did you find your way over with that group of individuals?
So that goes back to when I started boxing. I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight. That's why I asked my mom to go take me to boxing, but it was all boxer size stuff. because it's hard to find a kid's gym, at least when you don't know, that's like competitive and goes to like do that stuff. So it was just boxer size stuff. I got bored of it. My mom was like, all right, well, like try a private lesson with this trainer. He's willing to give like super good discount. So I go and we start warming up with just like pummeling like wrestling. And he's like, oh, you should go and find a wrestling school by your house. And then within like a month or two, I'm not sure the exact time frame, but shortly after that, at Found Valley High School, I lived like a block away from there. They started a feeder program, and that's where Coach Jesse Ginger Ninja from Orange County Regional Training Center, him and two other guys that he went to college with, they came out here and they started coaching, and they found their way to Found Valley. They named it Dreamcatchers Wrestling for a little bit, and then all these guys from Calvary Chapel came and kind of took the program over, changed the name, and started funding it, and they called it Genesis Wrestling Club. And then Genesis Wrestling Club turned into the Orange County Regional Training Center. So I've known them since I started. It's just a long story, but that's the whole story. You know, it goes from Genesis to Orange County Regional Training Center.
Now, see, I know Jesse. I go way, way back where I would visit and see him on occasion or two. So, what do you feel like you have learned most from him? Like, I have seen him grow so much as a coach over the years, and we run into each other every once in a while to fight. We always say, "What's up?" I look at his dog. The dog's adorable. But to me, I just always wonder, like, what is it from the inside that you feel that he gets you that maybe you haven't gotten from other coaches?
In a grappling sense, or like a wisdom kind of life sense?
You know, it was originally intended to be more for the grappling sense, but I'll take whatever you got.
Um, just his sayings that he got from his coach in the Prodigy wrestling program is always one more, and just like his affirmations that he'll tell you before you compete and stuff. It's like no one else. He's one of those guys who knows how to, like, for me personally, like, get, hit you in your heart and your soul and get something out of you. And he's always like, always one more, like, man up, go get it. Like, you're on another level. That's the main thing. Like, when you're walking out and you're right when you're about to step on that mat, he's like, you're on another level, stud. You're on another level. Don't forget it. And you just go in like, yeah, I'm on fucking another level. Like, let's go. So I would say that for sure. And overall, I feel like the biggest thing I've learned from him is just to be like a caring, giving person. To, even if no one's gonna give you something back in return, to just always be giving. And he truly is like the definition of the guy who would like give the shirt off his back for somebody else. Like, I always see him like going out of his way for people, being giving, being forgiving, and uh like watching him do that is awesome because he's such a savage, but at the same time, like, he'll go out of his way to like protect and provide people around him. So it's really cool. It's a blessing to have him.
That's very cool. Now, let's get into the idea that you have been competing in MMA as well. So earlier this year, you had a fight. How many fights have you had so far in your MMA career?
Two, 2-0 right now.
Congrats on that. What did your first MMA experience feel like?
It felt like exactly how I envisioned it was gonna feel like. Feels like what I've thought about since I was a kid. I was always the kid, like, when I'd walk through a hallway somewhere or some kind of training, like, I would just be like, oh, this is what it's gonna feel like to walk out and like out of the hallway and everyone's gonna scream. You put your arms up and so it kind of felt exactly how I've always thought it was gonna feel. And it had been a while since like I had been in like a real fight or something like that. We were like, you're actually nervous and you've worked so hard, and like when it's over, it's like that. It's just a different kind of high, and you see why people get addicted to it and they want to keep fighting. Because leading up to the fight, a few days before, you're like, fuck, why am I doing this? Like, I love to do it, but like, the shit's a lot. It kind of sucks a little bit. And then after it's over, it's like, whoa, sign me up for the next one. Let's go.
That is always the hardest part to remind people, that there's usually a little bit of a, hey, you don't fight right away. You know, normally it takes a little bit of time. But in your particular case, because you are so young, it is difficult to have that patience. But the turnaround was not that far off from your first to second fight, correct?
Yeah, the first fight, neither of us landed a single punch, so I didn't take any damage. Like, yeah, I could have fought a whole nother fight after that easily.
And then you ended up fighting just recently, and this is almost a couple weeks, or actually 6 weeks before the Subversive event. So this was over at Lights Out as well. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, actually, super disappointed in that experience. I hesitated with my hands, and something in my head was just saying, "Don't take him down." So I didn't take him down, and I felt comfortable with the kicks because we've been working a lot of kicks. And my Muay Thai coach Cole had just told me, like, when you're fighting a southpaw, like, that right kick is just going to be open the whole time. So I kind of just kept throwing that. Was fighting it to the head a little bit, but I've always liked boxing. Like, I said, I come from the boxing, so I was hesitating with my hands when, like, there's a few moments where if I would have just exploded on him and let a combo go, like, it would have been a lot better fight.
I mean, it's always going to be a moment of disappointment when you don't quite perform to what you've been practicing, or you have a moment of hesitation where you just kind of feel like, man, I could have showed out a little bit better. But I'm sure
Yeah.
also getting a win at Subversiv and then getting on this World Trials team, getting the PGF, like the back to back to back that you've had this just this year has been an incredible run. So I'm sure that as you heal up right now, you're mostly looking forward to where you want to go next. So what does 2025 look like for you in your head?
Um, Another 3 fights, another 3 victories, and USA grappling trials. That's already on the list. Like, I'm already seeing that happening, and whatever other combat jiu-jitsu stuff comes my way. I was supposed to do the combat jiu-jitsu worlds, but I just let them, let them know, like, about my rib, and that I didn't want to leave them hanging. And I don't know about, I haven't been training and stuff, and some of these dudes are the best around. I'm not going to go there and get punked, or like, I'm just not going to show up half-assed. Like, I want to win that thing more than anything. And I just knew it wasn't my time right now, and I was going to let this heal. And I'm coming off a lot of things. I feel good mentally, and this step back has helped me, do a lot of other things in my life that I was kind of falling back on, and to catch up. But when you want to train so much, you're like, oh no, like, it's all right. Like, it'll happen when it's supposed to, and you just keep training. Opportunities keep coming, and I've known since the start, since I was young, like, or just having the ability to see opportunities, like subversive opportunity, PGF opportunity. It's like, no matter what happens, opportunity, and that's going to open so many doors. And doing stuff like that has changed my life this past year. It's actually been kind of crazy how much stuff has changed, and I still know I have a lot of work to do, and I'm gonna do it. I'm excited for what's to come.
Good for
Hey,
you.
one second.
Yeah, go for it.
1 second. I'm gonna plug my phone in real quick.
Go for it, man. So you briefly touched upon this, but I kind of want to get into it some more. Sometimes I have to take time off. I wouldn't say I'm like major injured, but I don't want it to be a major injury. So I find myself doing other things. When you kind of mentioned that you've been doing other things now that you're not training as aggressively as you used to, what are those other things that have occupied your time?
Uh, Kind of boring stuff, dude. I've been trying to just gain more discipline in my life with certain things that I've always wanted to, that I've liked but want to be better at, like reading, setting more fun goals outside of jujitsu, like making sure my room is clean, doing laundry and stuff. Like, that's what I mean by stuff you fall behind on, when you're like, oh, the guy's so many rash guards, like, you just kind of let them pile up, and then they get all dirty, and you're like, oh, I probably should be doing laundry more often. So just getting more on top of, like, little things like that. Uh, yeah, and because, I'm still coaching kids class. I still coach in the mornings, Tuesday, Thursday, and I still lift as much as I can. I've just been doing a lot of legs and, like, riding the stationary bike, doing anything that doesn't hurt, like mobility stuff. But other than that, just taking a step away from the gym and not being in there like 4 or 5 times a day. Just being in there when I have to be for the classes that I'm coaching.
Yeah, I feel that. It's very tough for me. And as somebody who, you always feel like if you can be in the gym, you should be in the gym. But I always feel like injuries are a good reset button to say, like, hey, not only rest, but get your brain a little bit of a rest too, so that you're not overloading it. Is there anything fun that you're allowing yourself to do? Because every once in a while, let's say I take a break from something, I immediately
Yeah.
go like, all right, I can have a little bit better food now for a couple days. Or yeah, if I wanted to indulge in, say, a video game or watch a movie, I can do that. Is there anything that you're allowing yourself to kind of do to kind of decompress?
Like, of course, after keeping my weight down for the grappling world championship because you had to weigh in like before you compete, so I didn't want to cut weight super crazy. I like, of course, I just like ate whatever I wanted. I'm like, I have those genetics, and I'm just small enough right now where no matter what I eat, I still look good. So I just, of course, ate a bunch of In-N-Out and whatever else that I really wanted. But I like eating just like steak and rice and eggs. So I'm fine with that. As far as like, it's not hard for me to stay disciplined with that. And everything else, no, I'm still staying on like a regimen with everything I'm doing. I haven't really given myself any time to like, I don't know, because some of my hobbies, I like to skateboard a lot. So I haven't been obviously skateboarding with my ribs. That's one thing that I wish I could do more, but obviously hurt my rib. I can't do that. And I don't skateboard as much anymore because you get hurt and it stops you from doing jiu-jitsu. But I go fishing. I like to go fishing a lot. That's one thing that I've been doing a bit more. But other than that, like I like to stay kind of structured with everything I do.
That's smart. And you know what? Credit to you for finding a very patient thing in fishing. I think that's probably a really good reset for yourself, especially when you're so go, go, go. I think there is a chill factor that is required for fishing, that you have to learn that patience and learn how to relax and decompress a little bit. So I think that's a very good sort of outlet for you. I must ask this because you mentioned In-N-Out orders. What is the In-N-Out order for you? What is the go-to? Like, walk me through. Somebody comes up to you, meets you at your car, and says, "Sir, can I take your order?" What is that order at In-N-Out?
Uh, I go two 3x3s, no tomatoes, and if I'm feeling it, two French fries. If not, then just one French fry.
Do you want to know something kind of weird here?
What's up,
Okay. Are you familiar with the competitor by the name of Ian Dabe?
Ian Dabe? Hmm.
Ian Dabe, sorry.
Sounds familiar, but I don't know.
He is a purple belt, 10th planet, big dude. Looks like a comic book final villain, but he's training with like Keaton and PJ. He's part of that crew with Legion and 10th Planet that gets together and does stuff. My
Mhm.
man is about 250.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I just did an interview with him. And he, before we were doing the interview, had two 3x3s as well. So, what I'm telling you right now is you and all buck 60 of you is having the exact same meal this 31, 32-year-old dude who's super big and yoked has. So I guess the question for you is, you said that you'll put away stuff, no problems. But how do you feel after having those two In-N-Out burgers? And is that an end of the day, or is that middle of the day and you still do other athletic things like train or coach?
And that's the end of the day thing.
Thank God. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel fine after. You know what I do? I go in the mirror and I go like this. Mm, go. Just don't look at the six pack. The six pack doesn't look as good for the night. When I wake up in the morning, it's back. Sorry, this cat. Move this cat real quick.
It's all right. You don't have to move the cat. I think most people like seeing the animals make a cameo. I'm so glad that you do that because you wanted to make sure that was just a good opportunity for you to flex at the camera. So good for you. I would say this. The true sad part of this whole situation here is that while we were trying to figure out how to do this in person, the fact that now we didn't get to do this in person means we couldn't train. And I don't want to train when your ribs good. I want to train with you when your ribs bad, because then I've got better.
And I need you. I need to give you time to get into good enough shape to like withstand my cardio.
That's just not going to happen. I don't have good cardio. That's not something I come equipped with. Once you get to a certain age, young man, cardio goes out the door. And if you're rolling with young kids such as yourself, how old are you?
22.
22. Okay. So just so you have a area of reference, I am 20 years older than you. In no way will my cardio ever be better than you.
You're 42?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look that bad for 42.
Well, first of all, the correct phrasing is you look great for 42. Second, when you say that you don't look that bad, young man, if you keep eating those 3x3s, you will not look like this when you are 42. I will tell you that right now.
Bro, I'm gonna be jacked.
You probably will be a good looking person in terms of that, but the interior of your body is going to reject at some point all of that as one thing. You have told me you're like steak, chicken, eggs, all good. You know what I had to do before we did this interview today?
What'd you have to do?
I had to go do a little bit of a checkup to see a doctor and just be like, hey, how's the cholesterol? And they're like, it's not that bad. You're doing okay. And I was like, high five, great. She was like, you did better. And I go, great. She goes, but we could still get it down a smidge. And she's like, you know what it might be? A lot of red meat. And I go, nah, okay. I go, I really only have red meat like once a week. She goes, that's good. How about cheese? And I was like, oh, you're not going to take cheese away from me.
Not the cheese.
The cheese is like a dumb sneak up. So I was like, yeah, that's probably it. She looks at me. She goes, yeah. She goes, see you in 6 weeks. I was like, sure. So that's the fun stuff I get to do. So when I plan my in and out, it is very specific. So when I see both you goons of you and Ian looking over and being like, oh, I just have these 2 3x3s. And I was like, remember that. I remember those days. Yes, I did that too.
It's amazing.
So
Pretty glorious.
believe me, I still enjoy my double. And on a rare case, every once in a while, like say I've covered an event and I didn't get to eat all day, I'll do a 3x3. But those days are far and few these days. So yeah, no, I am happy to train with you in the future. And now that I know that you're a trash talker, I'll have jokes ready for you. I know what I need to say about you, but I just know that you're somebody who is already very good and you're on my radar. And I am a little bit bummed that we couldn't make it work this time, but we'll allow you the time to get healed up and whatnot. And we'll make it happen in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Sir, at the very end of the interview, I always like to afford an opportunity to our guests to go ahead and give any shout outs to their team, to individuals that help them get ready. In this specific case, we could talk about either your PGF experience or your Subversiv experience. So feel free to give shout outs to them and any sponsors that you might have. So I'm going to go ahead and put the camera on you. Take it away, sir.
Great. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Orange County Regional Training Center and everybody that coaches there and trains there, the community and family we have there. It's just something that really drives me and propels me forward. And shout out to all the kids in the kids class because you guys motivate us as much as we motivate you. And thank you to my family, everyone that supports me, the people that I live with that give me such a good deal on a place to stay so I'm not homeless anymore. And yeah, thanks to God for all the opportunities. And thank you for this opportunity to be on here. And I look forward to watching it when it's done.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for accommodating, dude. I appreciate you for, making the adjustment. When I hit you up, I was like, yo, let's talk when you're back. And you're like, I'm back. And I go, really? When? You already got back quick, son. So I was just happy to make that work. But like I said, we'll definitely be keeping eyes and ears out for you, man. Heal up. And I'm super stoked for your 2025, sir.
Hell yeah, let's go.
All right, man. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and close this bitch up and I'll say bye to you off air. So my thanks to you, John Chandler. Great job today, man. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this interview. I'll ask you this. First and foremost, if you can like, comment, and subscribe on this interview, that would be great. I'll ask this to my old heads, anybody who's watching who is an old person, not like this kid who's still young and can eat whatever the hell he wants. Don't thumbs up that. You don't get to thumbs up that. That just means you're young. It doesn't mean you did anything for it. I'll ask you this. Is there any type of food or thing that you've had to give up? Because I know those of us who are athletes always think like, well, if I work really hard and do lots of rounds, I can eat whatever I want. Not always. So you can say if there's any food that you've had to give up that you truly love and you can truly be like yours right here, truly. Who has to give up, I guess, a little bit of cheese. It's really sad news for me. I like putting like a little bit of cheese on it. And I don't even have a crazy amount of it. Yeah, I get it. Anyway, that's my problem, not yours. Go to patreon.com/grappling hour and you can see our interviews 30 days before anybody else. Find a few extra dollars, give that our way. You can see extra bonus content not available anywhere else, including tape studies, RAF, Roast Raf, a segment where people roast my competition footage. And you can also see a segment where we do extra content with our guests, where we ask them about their favorite matches, because that's coming up next. That is happening. We're getting toward the end of the year. So we're going to ask people what it is that they enjoyed watching and seeing throughout the year. Additionally, find us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Give us a rate and a review. It does mean the world to us, so go find us on there. You can also get this merch, rafesparza.com/merch. And finally, to continue the discussions we have here on the show, head on over to Discord at Grappling Hour. Ladies and gents, that's going to do it for us here at the Grappling Hour. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.